US President Donald Trump is trying to maintain constant pressure toward resolving the war in Ukraine. However, his initiatives appear to have reached a dead end. The Kremlin is openly demonstrating its unwillingness to make any compromises. The Times reports this. According to journalists, the Russian side has shown not the slightest interest in any agreements that do not satisfy each of its demands. Despite days of diplomatic efforts involving representatives from the US, Europe, Ukraine, and Russia itself, and although Kyiv, together with its European allies, managed to reject the document proposed and supported by Washington, consisting of 28 points that many described as an effective surrender of positions, it has long been clear that any peace scenario acceptable to Ukraine will automatically be rejected by Russia, the Times reports. When asked by journalists whether peace was near, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated, "It is too early to talk about that yet." Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov also publicly and categorically refuted former President Donald Trump's claims that Moscow had allegedly agreed to adjust its demands. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated directly that the Kremlin will not accept any proposal that does not rule out Ukraine joining NATO, does not provide for the transfer of the seized territories to Russia, and does not give Moscow the right to set limits on the size of the Ukrainian armed forces. According to some critics, the Ukrainian authorities are well aware that there is virtually no chance of reaching a real peace agreement, and Kyiv's participation in the current negotiations is more likely aimed at preventing Trump from blaming Zelensky for the failure of his peace initiative. Mykola Belyeskov, an analyst at the Come Back Alive Foundation, wrote on social media, "The point of Ukraine's participation in Trump's peace process is to avoid being blamed for its collapse. Everyone understands this but pretends not to. I sympathize with everyone who is forced to take part in this farce." Despite the fact that the US no longer provides Ukraine with direct financial aid, Washington continues to share critically important intelligence that enables Ukrainian forces to strike targets deep inside Russia. The US also sells weapons to its allies who then transfer them to the Ukrainian armed forces, including Patriot missiles, which play a key role in defending Kyiv. However, the recent statement from the White House that such sales cannot continue indefinitely was seen by many as a veiled warning. Deliveries may be halted if Zelensky does not agree to a deal in the near future. According to media reports, the course of negotiations became more complicated after audio recordings of a phone conversation between Vitkov and senior Russian negotiators were leaked in October. In one of the recorded conversations, Vitkov tells Putin's aide Ushakov about his deep respect for the Russian president and also advises the Kremlin to compliment Trump in order to support his peace efforts. And although Moscow has repeatedly and openly declared that its strategic goal is to return Ukraine to its sphere of influence, the recordings also indicate that Vitkov apparently considers the possibility of agreements in the format of peace in exchange for Ukrainian territories in the east.